Joseph Smith's early Mormonism rooted in Native American culture. Meet Aunt Hononegah, Joseph Smith's aunt, married to Lucy Mack's brother, Stephen Mack.
Hononegah, born 1847, was the wife of Stephen Mack Jr., an employee of the American Fur Company, a pioneer of the Rock River Valley in northern Illinois, and the founder of the community of Rockton, Illinois. Hononegah has great influence in the Roscoe-Rockton area. Hononegah, as a Potawatomi queen and the daughter of a chief. Mack, 1850 to 1798, came to Grand Detour from Detroit, Michigan in 1820 and worked as a clerk at a trading post there. Mack almost died of a fever and Hononegah nursed him back to health. Mack admired her so much that he decided to become her husband. Mack bought the house of a French merchant. They had 8 children. In 1840, Mack and Hononegah were married in Winnebago County, Illinois by William Howland, Justice of the Peace. At that time, Mack was worried that if he did not marry Hononegah legally, his children would have problems with inheritance. Their problems did not end after marriage. At the end of 1829, they were forced to flee the highway. They found their way to the Winnebago settlement in what is now the Hononegah Forest Reserve between the Illinois villages of Rockton and Roscoe. And there Mack established a new trading post near where Dry Run Creek meets Rock River. On May 9, 1832, Blackhawks warriors were sent there to wipe out Mack's powder, and Mack and Hononegah abandoned their trading post. Meanwhile, there is a romantic story about Mack hiding on Weber's Island and Hononegah bringing Mack food and fresh water to get the Black Hawk warriors to leave. Mack served as a guide from Chicago during the Black Hawk War. After the fights ended, Mack and Hononegah returned to the shopping area.
So before Joseph Smith acted as an Indian agent in negotiating the movement of Keokuk and his Native American tribes from Illinois across to Iowa, Stephen Mack Jr., his uncle, was doing the same in the Black Hawk War. Stephen Mack Jr. is remembered as being an Indian agent in negotiating the peace between Black Hawk and his warriors. So the service to the United States by the Mack and Smith family is well known by all except for, yes, the Brighamite Utahs. Mormons who moved out to Utah, became a slave state, enslaved Native Americans, and enslaved women alike. 2 twin evils, slavery and polygamy. Polygamy being simply a pretext for white female slavery and child trafficking. Stephen Mack. Aunt Hononegah was 100% Winnebago Native American, making Stephen Mack first cousin to Joseph Smith, 1/2 Native American. It begs the question, was early Mormonism, developed by Joseph Smith, designed to integrate the races into Christianity? I believe it was so. Martin Luther King once said, the most segregated organizations in the United States are the churches on Sunday morning. I believe you will find that Joseph Smith's early organization was designed to integrate the races into Christianity and hopefully sowing the seeds and harvesting a harvest of peace in the United States. What is acutely ironic is eventually Brigham Young's church that went out to Utah completely undid and reversed Joseph Smith's vision. The Utah church under Brigham Young became segregated, instituted slavery, and enslaved women in polygamy. A complete opposite vision of the once lofty goals of Joseph Smith, which was to integrate Christianity with all the races. And in pursuit of this theory, I present 3 things. Aunt Hononegah being Native American and all his cousins being Native American. 2, attending Dartmouth College to train as a minister to proselytize Native Americans. This was Hyrum Smith and Stephen Mack, who both attended Moores Charity School. Moores was named after the North African Moors, which many Sephardic Jews believe they trace their ancestry to. And we know that Joseph Smith's grandfather, Solomon Mack, and his mother, Lucy Mack, were part of this Jewish diaspora that came to the United States under religious persecution. And 3, the integration of both the Melchizedek, which is considered the white man's priesthood under Masonry, and the Aaronic or Levitical priesthood, which is considered the Semitic or the Jewish tradition of priesthood. So he brought both these white priesthood and the Jewish Semitic priesthood together under one banner of his church. This was revolutionary. And as we know, Joseph Smith's church fought against slavery, and this is why Joseph Smith was eventually assassinated, was because of his anti-slavery political position that got him incarcerated in Missouri and thrown out of Missouri, and then eventually assassinated at Carthage jail.
Joseph Smith's parents made arrangements for Hyrum to attend the Moores Charity School Academy at Hanover and for the other children to attend a common school. The Academy, or Moores Charity School, was associated with Dartmouth College in Hanover, a few miles north of the Smith home and on the same side of the Connecticut River. Lucy did not explain why Hyrum was chosen to attend, but it may have been because his cousin of about the same age, Stephen Mack, a Native American from his mother Monongah full-blooded Winnebago and aunt to Hyrum, qualified him as a Native American related who more than likely dedicated himself to preach Christianity to the U.S. Native American. And why would the Smiths, who were strongly associated family with Native American, want to preach to Native American? It was part of the United States plan to proselyte Native Americans who were funded by the British to attach and go to war with U.S. citizens moving westward to expand the U.S. to the Pacific. The British hired Native Americans, such as in the Black Hawk War, to engage in never-ending wars with the U.S. Moores Charity School was designed to proselyte the Native Americans, convert them to Christianity, and make them good peaceful citizens of the United States. So Hyrum was sent to Moores Charity along with Native American cousin Stephen Mack to become trained minister to the Native Americans. Early Mormonism organized by Patriarch and Matriarch Joseph Sr. and Lucy Mack Smith organized the first integrated church whose primary missions were to convert Native Americans to Christianity. Book of Mormon is an allegory of white and brown brothers engaged in a constant war, which is the history of the U.S. American Indian Wars that lasted close to a century. Also, one cannot help observe the irony of the Book of Mormon allegory. While white Masons believe themselves to be superior. See Brighamite painting of Nephi and family dress as Vikings, referring to the Scottish U.S. invaders, with the Native American Lamanite being of superior strength and being blessed of God by wiping out the wicked white men, the Nephites. Then telling the defeated white tribes, as in the Bible, the white were defeated because they angered their God, but if they submit and obey their rulers, God will return and seek vengeance on the rulers. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. And the Old Testament God is something else. He genocides his children, tell the victims of the genocide they are at fault, but just submit to their sinful invading rulers, and eventually God will return and destroy the invaders whom God previously blessed to win and destroy his original chosen people. What a crazy thing to believe, but most males of the species believe this. Even though they are defeated and utterly enslaved by Roman invaders, if they submit and obey their cruel invaders, God will reward them by returning and, yes, betraying the original invaders and destroying them. So too Book of Mormon preaches the same allegory of pride, destruction and return of the angry God for vengeance. So what was Joseph Smith saying? Well, that the Native Americans had been favored by God because God genocided the last living white men Viking on the hill Cumorah. Also, a great cousin John Smith was an eminent scholar and legendary in introducing the ancient language curriculum, including Hebrew, Greek, and Reformed Egyptian, known as Coptic, the Egyptian language of the gold plate. So why would the gold plate be writing in Coptic? Well, the logical conclusion is that most scholars believe the New England Native American would be Egyptian North African Moors, since all their customs were right out of Greek Egyptian culture. The U.S. Constitution was fashioned after the Hellense Egyptian customs of the Moorish Native Americans. Book of Mormon or Book of Native American Origins should be the title. Back to Moors, Eleazar Wheelcock founded the Moors School in Lebanon, Connecticut, in 1754. Its curriculum extended beyond simply educating students, rather, it focused on preparing them to become teachers and preachers. In 1769, the school relocated to Hanover, New Hampshire, and became associated with the newly founded Dartmouth College. With the establishment of a common school in Hanover in 1808, the academy further refined its focus to prepare gifted students for additional scholarly education. But it maintained its religious influence, and students attended daily chapel services at the White Church on campus. If Hiram attended in 1811, as Lucy seems to indicate, he joined a class of 31 students, which grew to 56 by 1814. School records are incomplete, but the Hiram Smith listed in the August 1814 record was one of the charity scholars studying arithmetic. Charity scholars were not merely students with limited financial means. The designation also implied remarkable intellectual potential. School president John Wheelcock personally followed the progress of these student scholars, who were supported from his limited funds. Hiram's election as a legend of charity in 1814 suggests that his teaching career had excelled during his earlier years there. The outbreak of typhoid fever at the end of 1812 sharpened Hiram's teaching. He came home sick from school towards the end of February 1813. His whole family fell ill, but Hiram, in spite of his illness, determined to do his part to ease their suffering. He comforted his mother and stayed with Joseph for days and weeks until Nathan Smith, the college surgeon in Dartmouth, his daughter Malvina was in Hiram's class, at Joseph's feet to unwind. Whether the relationship between Hiram and Malvina is significant or known to those with space is not recorded. When Joseph's leg was healed, the family sent him to his brother Jesse's home in Salem, Massachusetts, hoping the sea breeze would help him. Financially depleted by a year of illness, the rest of the family returned to Norwich, Vermont. Hiram had to travel 4 miles east of his home and cross the Connecticut River to return to Moores School. His youngest brother, Don Carlos, was born at Norwich March 15, 1816.